Hello, everyone. Welcome to Socorro's webinar series, Coastal Observing in Your Community. My name is Abby Wakely, Socorro's Communications Director, and I will be facilitating and moderating the webinar. Socorro is hosting this webinar series to discuss, highlight, and raise awareness about the coastal ocean observing activities in the Southeast U.S. and beyond. Socorro is the regional coastal ocean observing system for North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. We are one of 11 that make up the NOAA-led U.S. Integrated Ocean Observing System, also known as IOOS. Our mission is to sustain and promote observations that help keep you safe. This is a quick snapshot of the technology we support to accomplish our mission. I wanted to quickly provide a few updates on Socorro activities. We'll be hosting our 2021 annual meeting virtually on Monday, May 24th from 1 to 2:30 p.m. The meeting will include a brief board and members business meeting, election updates, and a report out on Socorro's revised strategic plan. We'll miss seeing everyone in person. And also, Socorro just released last week education and outreach requests for proposals. We are seeking proposals to develop online or online accessible K-12 marine science curriculum and/or activities that can be implemented by parents, teachers, and other educators. Proposals must demonstrate how they will increase participation of underrepresented communities in STEAM educational activities, and they are due May 21st, 2021. All right, so this is going to be a really interactive webinar, so I wanted to do a little bit of go-to housekeeping. We encourage you to ask questions by typing your question through clicking this little icon here. I will post them directly to the presenters. And all attendees are muted, so if you would like to speak, you can go ahead and raise your hand. And once I see that you've raised your hand, I will unmute you. And just a reminder, we are recording this webinar today and we'll be posting it on the Socorro website and emailing it to everybody who has registered. Let's start with a quick test of the go-to technology. Please type in the chat box what brings you here. Are you an educator wanting to learn more about the curriculum, or you're wanting to test out the activities at home? Just go ahead and type it in and we'll get some practice on that. And while you're doing that, I'm going to move on and introduce our presenters. We're really excited to welcome three great speakers from the University of Georgia Marine Extension and Georgia Sea Grant. They will be presenting a 4th grade curriculum, Water Shapes Our Planet and Our Lives. Katie Smith is the Water Quality Program Coordinator at the University of Georgia Extension and Georgia Sea Grant. She works out of Brunswick, Georgia, and provides outreach and education related to water quality, coastal ecology, and stewardship. Jill Gamble is the Coastal Community Resilience Specialist for the University of Georgia Marine Extension and Georgia Sea Grant. She works out of Athens, Georgia, and provides technical assistance to help coastal communities prepare for and adapt to changes like extreme weather events and flooding from sea level rise. Nina, I forgot your last name, Sassono, is an educator and intern coordinator for the University of Georgia Marine Extension and Georgia Sea Grant. She is stationed at the Marine Education Center and Aquarium on Skidaway Island. She facilitates the year-long Marine Education Fellowship Program as well as seasonal student opportunities and provides educational programs for K-12 students and adult audience. All right, so I am going to stop sharing my screen, and Nina is going to kick us off with a really fun activity. So Nina, I'm going to promote you to presenter, and if you want to correct me on your last name, I am so sorry about that.
That's okay. It's Sassano, but tomato, whatever floats your boat. Hi, everybody, and welcome, and thank you for joining us today. We're really excited to share what we've been working on with you so that you can share these resources with your students, your friends, whoever you want to teach about the water cycle and our planet. To get started, we're going to do a really fun little icebreaker that we put together that you can also use with your classes or your friends or your family at a party, whatever it is you want to do. I will walk you through how it works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. And what you will see here is a Mad Lib form. And can everybody see that? Abby, can you confirm that you can see the screen?
We can see it, yep.
Thank you so much. Okay, so this is a very simple Google form that I put together. I will be following up with this presentation with an email on the steps on how to do this for yourself. But what we're going to do is we're going to go through and fill out this Mad Lib activity. And if you've never done a Mad Lib before, all it is I will ask you for a name, a large number, and you will give me an answer. I'll fill it in. Then we're going to go through the rest of the webinar, and we will go and check out our story after the webinar ends. So because we're not going to be really talking too much to each other, the way this is going to work is I'm going to ask for someone to type in the chat box a name, and then Abby is going to tell me the first name she sees. So we can start, anybody can go ahead and just type in any old name. And Abby, once you see a name come in, I will type it in.
Bill.
Bill is a really great name. How about a large number?
56.
56. Okay, an adjective.
Floppy.
Floppy. All right, another adjective.
Smelly. Sorry.
Start getting your adjectives in your brain because there's a lot of them in here. Okay, a verb ending in ing.
Running.
Okay, another adjective.
Sultry.
Oh, okay. All right. And another adjective.
Red.
A verb ending in ed.
Walked.
Oops. A number.
89.
All righty. An adjective.
Bright.
Verb ending in ing.
Thinking.
That's what most of you are doing right now, I'm sure. Okay, a body part.
Nose.
A past tense action.
Swam.
A verb.
Dance.
Noun.
Starfish.
Technically a sea star, but we'll accept it. Large number.
99.
Okay. And we're almost through it here. A couple more adjectives.
Fluffy.
All righty, another, two more here.
Shiny.
And
Silly.
okay, a verb ending in ed.
Shimmied.
Okay. Another verb just in the present tense.
Create.
Body part.
Leg.
Verb ending in ing.
Flying.
Regular verb.
Draw.
One more verb ending in ing and one more adjective.
Laughing.
And
Funky.
okay, that's a great one. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug these in, and they will automatically generate while everybody else is working, watching our wonderful presentation, and then we will revisit our story and see what we came up with our fun words. And with that, I'm going to toss it over to Katie.
And Katie, you should be getting the prompt to become presenter.
Yep, I got it. Can you all see my screen?
Yep.
Awesome. Sounds good. Let me move let's see, I'm going to move us down so that I can see what I'm doing on the screen here. Where can I put us? There we go. Okay. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining our webinar today. And thanks for indulging us in that fun activity to kind of get things going. Of course, as educators, you know, it's super important to figure out how to make our you know, teaching relatable and engaging and fun. So that's what we wanted to provide for you all today. So I'm going to be highlighting basically the layout of the website where the new curriculum, Water Shapes Our Planet and Our Lives, lives on the Cora webpage. So let me move. Sorry, I've got some other things open on my screen, so I need to be able to get over here. Just wanted to show you, we've provided the link to the curriculum in the chat box. But if you go to Sephora's website and you're at the home page, the curriculum lives in this education tab under currently this new virtual curriculum tab. So that's where we're at. When we were putting this curriculum together, of course, we were designing a virtual curriculum, but it was super important to make this you know, engaging for students, to have interactive components to it, and also a hands-on component that we're going to talk about a little bit later in the webinar. Nina's going to highlight for us when we go back to her in a little bit. But what we found as a tool to enable us to have that interactive component to this virtual you know, set of resources was using Pear Deck for Google Slides. So some of you may be familiar with this tool. It was new to me in creating this curriculum. We actually consulted with Northeast Georgia RESA, the Regional Educational Service Agency, and talked with our friend Carrie Sigmund, who, you know, we told her exactly what we wanted this new curriculum to be able to do. And Pear Deck was just the perfect tool in order to create that. So we're going to highlight Pear Deck here in just a minute. But first, I just wanted to kind of scroll through the website and talk to you a little bit about how we laid out these resources. So we wanted this to follow the kind of 5E framework. I have a little diagram open here where we engage with the students, we let them explore certain concepts, then we kind of go into the meat of our lessons where we explain the content, and then we provided you know, some different resources that can allow educators or the students to dive a little deeper and elaborate. And then we've also provided a variety of different tools to evaluate, be it quiz questions or some evaluations for our educators as well, and parents, whoever is using the curriculum. So in order to make these resources where they were just readily accessible, easy to use, we laid the website out where we have kind of a set of resources for educators that gives them the full capability of this Pear Deck tool, as well as for curious learners who are people that just may come to the website and just, they don't necessarily want to implement lessons into a classroom per se, but they just want to be able to view the material and watch the videos. So we have kind of a set of resources for each type of learner or user. So for educators, some of the things that we have available are, I'm going to click here on this curriculum starter guide, basically just a PDF document with a you know, set of instructions that kind of highlights in just one page for you to review how to access and use these tools. So just not going to go through that right now, but just highlighting that it is there. We also have short sort of screencast tutorials, one for educators and one for curious learners, as well as you know, several links to request activity kits. Again, we're going to talk about that later. Answer keys for some of the things, you know, the quizzes that are in the lesson, supply lists, and things like that. So all of that is available kind of in these boxes, one set of resources for educators and a set of resources for curious learners. So now continuing on down to the actual lesson, we have 6 lessons. I'm just going to scroll down real quick, show you those 6 lessons, go back to the top. So the first lesson is the water cycle. The curriculum as a whole is, covering water cycle topics, weather and climate, aquifers, wetlands, all kinds of topics, but all, kind of centered around the water cycle. So if you are a curious learner and you come upon this website or you hear about it somewhere, you're able to just click on these images or this Curious Learner tab, and it is going to take you directly into a Pear Deck browser. You would not have to have downloaded anything or have any kind of special technology other than a computer to be able to get to this point. So, you can select an icon or you can just skip straight into a lesson. And so each lesson has, a title page, and you see over here, these arrows are how you navigate through a lesson. So it does take a little bit of kind of familiarizing yourself with, with this platform, but basically you're navigating through, and then you have a series of videos inside each lesson. When you play the video, it just goes all the way to the end. And then when you get to the end of the video, some other icons might pop up for additional videos, but those aren't a part of the curriculum. That's just a function of using YouTube to host our videos. You would at that point just advance to the next slide. One thing that is helpful is to have a Google account, so a Gmail address, because you would be prompted in these lessons at times to be logged into a Google account. If you didn't have one and you just didn't want to set up a free Google account, you could just skip those slides, and continue on to either the next video or the next, just the next slide that might contain a question or some other way to interact with the lesson. So we're going to highlight a little bit more of that later, but coming back to our main web page, now we're going to walk through what it would look like for an educator to click on these resources. So it's a different link. Educators would actually see this page that's loading now, where what we've done is we have published these lessons in Pear Deck so that they are available for teachers to sort of take ownership of. So at this point, you would copy the lesson, this particular file. You have to do this for each one of the lessons. You would click this button and it would copy it to your own Google Drive. Oh, I think I'm signed in as my son right now. So actually, it would just ask for your permission at that point, and then it would proceed straight to your own Google Drive, where the lesson would then be open and ready to. Let me see. I'm going to try to get. I'd like to be logged in. I'd like to be able to show y'all the next step in this process. Maybe I can work on coming back to that because I would like y'all to be able to see the actual Google Drive component, but just to not hold things up, because I think I'm getting close to the end of my time. That was kind of why we designed the curriculum with these 2 different formats, one for curious learners, one for educators. So I'm just going to scroll on down through the rest of the website for now and just highlight how we designed this curriculum around Georgia's science standards of excellence. We do have plans to align this curriculum for the entire Southeast region, so including North Carolina, South Carolina, and Florida. We also touch on ocean literacy concepts and climate literacy principles throughout the curriculum. And so we will update the, right now how we have this curriculum packaged as a 4th grade curriculum. We do anticipate that it will be a 4th through 6th grade curriculum once we finish with this alignment. And we also have plans to add one final lesson on extreme weather and community resilience to kind of touch on some of the concepts that are taught in other states in the Southeast region. So we're excited about that. We also have this component here where educators can evaluate the curriculum. So if it's a parent or a teacher that's used the full curriculum, we invite evaluations to help us improve future resources. And then I also just wanted to quickly highlight the entire team that it took to create this curriculum. We have the three of us that are on this webinar presenting today. We also have Luke Robertson, our Adopt a Wetland Coordinator, Lisa Kovalanchik, who is a educator as well at our Marine Education Center and Aquarium, Kayla Clark, our Public Programs Coordinator, Trey Cooper and Emily Kenworthy. Trey helped us film the curriculum and Emily helped us edit and write storyboards. And then we actually were able to involve a couple of students in the curriculum development as well, design and layout, Samantha Lance and Amelia Stone. And then Carrie Sigmund, who I mentioned earlier, who helped us with some of the instructional technology components as we work through developing the curriculum. So I'm going to stop there and move on to our next part, and I'll try to revisit with the actual Google Drive open so you all can see that part of the curriculum.
Great, thanks so much, Katie. So I am going to promote myself to presenter, and we're going to do a little word cloud activity. All right, so if everyone, I'm also putting it in the chat, if you guys can go to slido.com and type in the code 326427, or you can visit the link that I just sent in the chat. And what we're gonna do is Jill's gonna kick us off with a little word cloud activity. And as you guys type in your responses, it will pop up on my screen.
Great, thank you so much, Abby. So as everyone enters, what words come to mind when you hear the term climate change? We'll see responses come in. The larger they are, the more people have entered that particular term. Overwhelming, yes. Food scarcity. Resilience. Extreme weather, sea level rise, rising seas, global problem, heat. Variability, pain, sadness. This is really interesting. Heat trapping blanket, glaciers. So as you can see, thinking about climate change, talking about it can be overwhelming. It's a complex issue. And so we tried to make it interactive, fun, relevant as well to students through our curriculum that we developed. Great. Extinctions. We'll talk about that in a minute. Habitat adaptability. Politicized. These are great thoughts. Thank you all so much. Ecosystem collapse. And so this is just an example of the brainstorming we do in the curriculum to get kids thinking about how different issues with weather and climate and water impact their lives, intersect with their experiences, to prompt critical thinking, as well as improve their climate literacy. So Abby, if you wouldn't mind kicking it back over to me, I will share my screen.
Perfect. You should be getting the prompt now, Jill.
Great. Are you all seeing, do you see Luke on my screen right now? Perfect.
Yes, we do.
So I'm going to just walk us through a bit of lesson 2, which is climate and weather. In this lesson, students learn the difference between weather and climate. They discover how scientists study weather. They get an introduction to climate change and sea level rise, and they do an activity where they mimic precipitation by making a rain cloud. And some of the concepts that they'll learn as far as performance standards, they're going to learn how greenhouse gases from burning fossil fuels trap heat from the sun. In the word cloud, I saw the heat trapping blanket, exactly, and warm the earth. As greenhouse gases build up, more of the sun's energy gets trapped in the atmosphere and the earth becomes warmer. We then walk them through how this leads to greater variability in weather extremes, with increases in drought, severe weather events, rain events, and heat waves. And then this warming atmosphere also causes our oceans to warm. As the oceans warm, water expands, and land ice melts, causing sea level rise and flooding in low-lying areas. So this is sort of the narrative that we go through. I wanted to just show, this is the slide view from the student view. We have Luke out here in coastal Georgia talking about the weather, and how do we know what the weather, how do we know what the weather is going to be in a given day? We also walk students through different tools, and we have videos explaining different concepts. We incorporate information from NASA and from NOAA, so really the best science that's out there. And I wanted to just show you an example. This is one of the tools that we highlight from NASA. This is showing how global temperature has changed since 1884, I'm sorry. And so the process that I described a bit earlier about greenhouse gases trapping the heat in the atmosphere, we can see as we get through early 1900s, the planet's starting to heat up, but really it's as we get to the later 1900s that you see warmer temperatures really creeping in. The red and orange colors are showing the temperature difference. So when there's extremes in heat or in cool temperatures. And now I believe as we get closer to our current day, you're going to really see some dramatic changes in global temperature. We're now into most of our lifetimes, 1990s, getting into 2000s, and now within the last 10 years, you can see the dramatic change in temperature globally. And so we walk students through this tool. We also, they have sea level rise information, sea ice information, carbon dioxide, and we encourage students to look at these different ways of measuring. It's sharing data from NASA in a way that children can understand. Katie and I both have kids and right at this age, and so we have been running it by our own children to make sure that it meets the litmus test. This is a NOAA video, very simply explains what sea level rise is and shows different visualizations of it, explaining the difference between local sea level rise and global sea level rise, and why some parts of the globe experience higher rates of sea level rise than others. And then finally, I just wanted to share, we have a final activity after our 6 lessons that focuses on communication of climate change impacts and solutions. This is helping to learn not only their climate literacy, to demonstrate their comprehension, but also to engage critical thinking and helping to communicate about climate change and thinking about how they can make an impact in their community. And so there's an educator guide, and I'm going to, again, click on the student view just so you can see real quick. I love this, that you can check in, see how I'm feeling great today. Thank you. The slides are really easy to navigate through. You can see some of these are interactive, so you can move them around and show what you think is where these things should be, and it gives you the answers. This is another one. Oh, it's showing that I've already answered these, so that's why. I got it right. And it has some short answers that you can provide, or the students can provide. But I want to walk you through the final part of this where they get to dig in a little deeper They learn about how rhinos are being impacted by climate change. They're then prompted to pick a species and conduct research on how climate change might impact that animal and how it might impact it in the future. And then they share what they learned through a variety of creative mediums here, as you can see. And we provide some prompts for organizing their thoughts and communicating on the topic. So this is just a little snippet of what the curriculum, each curriculum is so creative, I have to say, and each one has its own little flair. Now, the best part of it, Nina is going to walk us through the hands-on activities that students can do that go along with each lesson.
Great, thanks so much, Jill. Nina, I'm going to promote you to presenter, so you should be getting that prompt.
Thank you. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, exploring weather tools.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Perfect.
Awesome. So as we kind of walk you through some of these portions of the curriculum from an adult's point of view, from a teacher point of view, and give you a kind of an understanding of how these things work in terms of a way to teach it, I want to kind of walk you through as a student's point of view as you're going through and you're learning. So as educators, we know how important it is to teach, we know how important it is to instruct, but at the same time, we also know how important it is to assess along the way to understand whether those students are learning as we go, or if they're just, it's too much information and they get to the quiz and they panic. So throughout all of these modules, so as you saw earlier, here are all of our lessons. Throughout all of our lessons, as you saw, we do have videos and we do have instructional components. And as students work their way through these modules, there's little breaks along the way where they get to test their knowledge, kind of prompt a deeper level of learning as they go along. So it kind of forces the students to really think about what they just learned and apply it. So this application of the knowledge which they just learned. And these are really fun and interactive. Here's an example of one where you have to better understand climate and weather, to move the dots to high pressure and low pressure air. And then here's an example from our weather or from our measuring weather lesson. In Georgia, we measured the temperature at 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. How much hotter was it in the morning than at night? And so the students have to not only understand how to read a thermometer, but then to apply their mathematical skills and the other things they've learned up until this point in school to be able to correctly answer this. And then they would just continue to move on through the lessons. Here's another example, how much rainfall has collected in the rain gauge. So by this point, the students are understanding why it rains and how we measure how much it has rained, and they can correctly know how to look at this rain gauge and say, okay, it has rained this much in millimeters during the time that it was collected. And kind of how Jill was talking about at the very end of these modules, at the end of the lessons, we do have those along the way assessments that kind of test them as they go. And at the very end of everything, they have actual quizzes. And so the quiz questions they'll go through and they'll actually really be tested on what they've learned. So drag the purple dot to what moves horizontally and what moves water vertically. So even if you don't know this, the student probably does, because they have just gone through the lesson and learned all these things and applied their knowledge. And so these quizzes are at the end of all of the modules, and this is just one more way for you as an educator to be able to assess what the student has learned through this program. And finally, right before it completely ends, right before the quiz, at the end of every one of these lessons is an activity. So I am a hands-on learner. I know many people do better when they learn hands-on and practice and see things in front of them and experience things. So we applied that one last bit of experiential learning to these lessons by providing activities to go along with all of our lessons. So I'm actually going to stop sharing the screen so that you can put all your attention back on me and my camera. So as you can see over here, I have a ton of supplies next to me in the lab, and these all came from one of our kits. And so the really cool thing about this curriculum and these lessons is that we have a kit that can be sent to schools, it can be sent home. When we originally started to come up with the ideas for this project, we were still in super lockdown quarantine and students were virtually learning from their virtual classrooms. And so the purpose of these kits was to be able to give teachers the opportunity to give these kits to their students at home so that they could follow along from home, they could do these hands-on activities, and the teachers can provide this, we provide this to the students for free. Now that students are coming back into their classroom, we're able to distribute these maybe 3 or 4 to a classroom so that students can work in pairs or in small groups along with the teachers so that they can follow along and do these activities. And we do have a limited number of kits that we are able to share, but I'm going to walk you through some of the materials here that we do share in our kits, and you may find that most, if not all of these are maybe right in your kitchen pantry or maybe in your classroom already. And so even though you may not be able to get on the list this time around for a free kit, you may be able to come up with all of the supplies and be able to make the kits at home and still be able to do the activities with your students. All of the supply lists are available online, so you can find all of that on the website, on the main website for the lessons. But when you open these kits, you'll see a little welcome packet that says, hello, these are the activities for each of the lessons that we will be doing. There are printable materials that go along with everything that help your students understand. Here's a really cool coloring page, and these help your students practice a little more with what they've learned. And then we have, for each lesson, we have a printout that as your student is actually watching an educator do the activity, they can actually follow along. Ooh, my camera's hard to follow, but they can actually follow along, get the materials together, have the steps in front of them, and move at their own pace by just pressing pause if their activity is moving too fast on the screen. And so I'll just quickly kind of show you some of the things we have here, some colored markers. Again, these materials are all available as a list for you on our website, so you can find some things at home, but simple things like little spray bottles, soil and sand. Of course, you don't have to label them if you just find them in your yard. You know what they are, paper towels, easy to find. This is a sweet little plant. So this is one of those things that if you have a green thumb, you can get this going on your own at home. This is used for the water cycle in a jar activity. This is the jar for the water cycle in a jar activity. So you can see this is just a simple little mason jar with a screw top, a couple of taper straws that we use to create our own anemometer, to measure the wind, and just very simple things that you can find at home. And so if you're an educator and you're interested in receiving one of these kits, you can find more information on the website about how to get on the wait list. Or if you want more information about the materials, the specific materials, you can find that there or reach out to any of us, and we'd be happy to help you. So Katie, I'm going to pass it back to you to see if you have been able to get your page working.
Yep.
Awesome.
Great. Sounds good. Show my screen. All right, so we're back to the main page here, and that actually worked out well because, while Jill and Nina were going through their presentation, they kind of showed, some of the slides, and you're like, oh, how do I get to that? So if you are an educator and you want to use these resources, before I clicked on educators and it took us to this page where it's actually a Pear Deck browser, and it's going to let me copy that lesson, that file, to my Google Slides drive. So when I click make a copy, it's just asking for permission. This is where we got stuck before because I was in the wrong account. It did not have permission to access these resources. So sorry for it being a little slow to load, but basically now that I've clicked those couple of buttons, if I had never seen this resource before, it is now copied into my Google Drive. So that is the benefit of having a Google account. It's free. You know, these resources are free. I will mention that we created this curriculum using a free premium trial of Pear Deck. So we were able to use a lot of the premium features in the curriculum development. And so if you are interested in, you know, using these, and you go to this point where you are going to download the Pear Deck for Google Slides add-on, you'll be offered a free premium trial for a period of time. And then all of these resources can be used with the free version. But if you wanted to try out the premium version, you can kind of compare. But basically, the lessons have these prompts here just on the title slide that tell you and guide you through exactly what to do. But if you had never accessed Pear Deck before, then you would just click you know, on add-ons and then get add-ons, and it's going to carry you to this kind of gallery, which will open here in a moment, of resources that are essentially extensions or add-ons for Google Slides. I'm not sure why it's not opening. I think it's trying. We'll give that another minute. If it doesn't load, we will just proceed.
Hey, Katie, one thing that might help speed up your internet is turning off your camera.
Oh, okay. Let me do that.
Sometimes it helps.
Not sure why it's not. Yeah. Not sure why that's not loading, but basically you would see there will be a whole gallery of different thumbnails, and Pear Deck would be one of them. But we're just going to go back, I guess, and not worry about that. Sorry, we're having difficulties there. There we go. At any rate, you can see how the lessons, let me go to another one. You know, you click on the educator link. My computer is being really slow. Copy that file to my drive. Again, give it that permission to make a copy, and it's going to open that resource in your Google Drive and allow you to you know, download that add-on. And then at that point, you will have the control panel that will allow you to share these resources with your students. And I will show you that here in just a moment if this would speed up a little bit. We have a few extra minutes. I think we've saved on some time. So it is trying to load. Bear with me. I'd like to open the Pear Deck add-on. Since I already have it, I'd like to show you what that looks like. Open Pear Deck add-on. And we're looking for a panel to open here. And I will just say that even though, you know, we're on this webinar and we're showing you all of these resources, our ultimate goal with the web page and the way everything is laid out and the resources that we included, like the little video tutorials and all of the curriculum starter guides and those little boxes with instructions, all of that was aimed to make this a very accessible you know, set of resources. And of course, we're available for questions. And, you know, just an email away. I think on the web page, it will, if you send if you have a question and you click the, ask us a question button, it'll send you to Abby at Sephora, and then she would notify us of your question. And so just do know that it is meant to be, very straightforward and intuitive, and you just have to kind of go through the steps. Okay, so now we are loaded. We have the Pear Deck control panel, they call it. When you click on this little hamburger, as they call it, you can see where I've got another little, keep getting this in the way. There we go. Just more functions in this Pear Deck tool where you can start your lesson. And the last thing I want to point out is that you can run these lessons as an assignment that's like student paced. You can embed it in Google Classroom. There's so many different ways that you can use this. You can give your students a link where they just click on it and it'll take them to these resources. Or you can also run it as a live session, instructor paced, and be interactive with your students, be it virtual or in the classroom. There's so many different ways that you can use these resources. So that's basically how you do, how you access the curriculum and start a lesson. And I'm sure that it seems a little overwhelming. It was to me in the beginning when I first started using Pear Deck, but again, once you get in there and you start clicking around, you'll find that it, that it makes sense, and it's a very user-friendly tool. So we're going to stop there, and we have next on our agenda for Nina to read our Mad Lib story, and then we'd like to give you all an opportunity to ask us questions.
Thanks, Katie.
Hey, Nina, should I promote you to presenter?
That would be awesome.
All right, so you should get the prompt soon.
Okay, thank you. And just so that everybody knows, everything that we've kind of gone over today, it's available as tutorials and different resources on our page. So if you feel a little bit overwhelmed or that was a lot to take in, you can always move at your own pace and check everything out on the page, look through the tutorials, you'll get a much better understanding of how the programs work and how you can use them. Okay, so finally, the last little thing that I'm going to do is bring us right back to the story that we wrote earlier in the meeting. This is a great way to engage your students in a fun and exciting activity. They always feel so special when their words make it to the story. Who doesn't? I'm sure you will too. And it relates back, it makes them think one different kind of way about the water cycle. So this is the story of our water droplet who has been all through the water cycle through millions of years. So I will read it. The words in bold are the words that y'all helped us put together. So, hi, my name is Bill. I've been on Earth for over 56 years, and boy, I've experienced a lot of changes. I've been a solid, a liquid, and a gas at different times throughout my floppy life. The water cycle is Snelly. My favorite memory as a liquid happened about 240 million years ago. As I was running in a lake, I got slurped up by a sultry dinosaur. Boy, the ride from one end of that dinosaur to the other was red and unlike anything I had ever walked. About 235 million years later, after 89 bright times through the water cycle, I remember becoming a solid. It was about 650,000 years ago. I was sinking on the nose of a woolly mammoth. Suddenly a whoosh of cold air swam in and everything started to freeze. It was very hard to dance, and soon I realized I was solid as a starfish. I stayed that way for at least 99 years. Then there was the fluffy time I became a gas. Technically, this memory starts out as when I was a liquid. The year was 1999. It was a shiny summer day, and I was crammed into a silly bottle of water. Little did I know, but I was on the tennis court about to be shimmied by none other than Serena Williams. She was playing so hard that it didn't take long for me to create right out of her leg. Suddenly, I changed into a gas, flying up into the clouds. What a ride! Water droplets like me get to draw through the water cycle our entire lives, changing from solid to liquid to gas and laughing all around our planet. What's your funky part of our story? So you can, that turned out pretty silly, but also would have given your students an idea of the different ways that a water droplet might move through the water cycle, and the concept that water is not created or destroyed, and it has been on the planet for millions and millions of years. So that's just a super fun little thing to do. And I will share with you the steps to do that in your classroom in a follow-up email. And with that, I think I'm going to turn it over and open it up to you all for whatever questions you might have for us.
Thanks so much, Nina. I'm going to quickly launch a poll for everyone to answer. So if you guys could select your answer, the question is, how do you plan to use this curriculum? And we'll give it a minute. And Katie, as they're answering this, we did have one question come in. As a teacher, do you get a report of correct/incorrect answers?
That's a great question. So that was really the determining factor of why we wanted to make the resources a published resource that teachers could take ownership of, because when you do that, you actually have a teacher dashboard. We didn't get to go into all of the functionality of Pear Deck, but you will basically, when you launch a lesson, either as an assignment or run it live, you get responses in your teacher dashboard. And so, you know, there are tons in our curriculum starter guide. We actually linked a Pear Deck resource on how to use Pear Deck asynchronously and synchronously. So I encourage you to look for that. Again, it's in the curriculum starter guide. But yes, you get responses to all, if you go through that copy to drive educator link, you will then launch the lessons and you will get those responses that the student put in through those formative questions and the quiz questions. Again, we have the answer guide, the answer sheet on linked on the webpage as well. If those people that interact with the Curious Learner link or the actual image that takes them directly into the resource, I actually get those responses in the Water Planet. We created a special Google account for this project called Water Planet. And so that's where the responses go when people interact with those lessons. But yes, as an educator, if you use the full functionality of Pear Deck, you will be able to access those resources. You can have your students, if you look on the control panel, you can either require your students to log in or not. And I would encourage you to require your students to log in, so then their responses are linked directly to their email. If you didn't require your students to log in, then it would be anonymous responses. So again, there's just all of those different little functionalities within Pear Deck. Great question.
Great, thanks so much, Katie. So I'm going to go ahead and close this poll, and then I'm going to share the results. And you'll see most of the answers are informal education. Folks want to take this and take it to science festivals and do informal education. And then next up is to face-to-face instruction, which is great. And then a tie between virtual instruction and hybrid classroom.
Awesome, that's really helpful to know. This has been a very evolving process. Again, like Nina mentioned, when we were selected, to do this project, everybody was in lockdown, and I was a teacher. I mean, I was facilitating, education for my students, just like Jill mentioned. I have young kids at home, and so, we had experience that kind of went into how we designed this, this curriculum unit. But of course now, it's a very fluid situation. Things are changing. Things are, there's hybrid, there's classroom, there's informal education. So we're hoping that we hit the mark and made, a set of resources that'll be useful for any setting.
Thanks, Katie. And then we had another question come in from Angela Willis about how long does it take to teach each lesson?
That's another good question. I would estimate the first couple of lessons are maybe like on the order of 20, 25 minutes. A couple of them are a little bit longer. I don't think they really exceed 30 minutes. We did get one, we have gotten one evaluation that was a 4th grade student that went through, and it said that a couple of the lessons are a little on the longer end, but they did, keep the student engaged. But I would average 20 to 30 minutes for each lesson. And plus, you're going through a guided tutorial to create a project. So the project that entailed building an anemometer, that was probably our longest and most, involved video. It's, kind of a, engineering little project. Some of the other, like the water cycle model is really quick. In lesson 2, there's a precipitation cloud and evaporation little activity. Those are pretty quick, but we put 2 activities together. So it just sort of depends. And again, we do plan to kind of repackage this once we do that curriculum alignment, that it really applies all the way from 4th through 6th grade. So we welcome feedback as people use these resources on that aspect, the link.
Great, thanks so much, Katie. I'm not seeing any more questions come in. I did send our email in the chat, communications@socorro.org. So if anyone wants to have questions or get on the phone with Katie and the team, we can make that happen. So go ahead and email that. But Nina, I want to say the Mad Lib, everybody loves the Mad Lib. So kudos.
That's awesome. That was so fun. Yeah, and I just want to thank Socorro and all of the project team members. It was such a collaborative and fun project. Just getting everybody together, especially during the unprecedented times that we found ourselves in. We had a lot of challenges between having to wear masks, but also wanting to create a product that wasn't dated, and we didn't want to be on video with masks on trying to talk to the students. So we found a lot of creative ways to do, to create the product that we were proud of, and that we wanted Socorro to be proud of, and really useful. So just thank the whole team and Socorro for selecting us and funding the project. It's something we're really proud of.
Yeah, thank you, Katie. And thanks to you guys and your team. We're excited to have this new curriculum on our website. And as I mentioned before, we have another education and outreach request for proposals, and it's very similar to what Katie and her team applied to. So I'll be sending that information along with the recording of the webinar and also instructions on how to use the Mad Lib in the classroom, probably on Thursday. So keep a lookout for that. And I just want to thank you all so much for attending. And if you have any questions, again, please email communications@socorro.org, and we will be sending a recording of this. And we'll also include the link to the curriculum website, because as Nina mentioned before, we might have moved a little fast here, but you can access all this information in PDFs on the website. All right, team, I think we're done.
Awesome. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a great day.
You too.